Good afternoon and welcome to News 9. I'm Nolan Pinto. A massive protests have broken out at Bijapur. They are opposing the construction of the Kudagi thermal power plant. Now the villagers squared off against cops as protests grew violent. Now the police opened fire at the villagers, following which 2 people were also injured. Meanwhile, the villagers set fire to several vehicles and torched the dry land. Now, the villagers became aggressive after they clashed with the police. They went berserk and set fire to 3 tipper lorries and overturned 2 police vehicles. Now, the police had to resort to firing in the air. Several workers at the plant have been threatened by the villagers, and their makeshift accommodations have been damaged. The thermal power project comes under the National Power Corporation Limited. Well, for more on this, I'm joined in by my colleague Varghese. Varghese, has this situation been brought under control?
Well, a lot of policemen have been deployed in the area, and there is a semblance of law and order now at the place. There is heavy police presence, but the situation is still tense. They've been able to ensure that the villagers go back to their homes, they also have made a security cordon around that entire power project area. But unfortunately, there's been damages. 3 tipper lorries were set on fire. The fire tenders had rushed to the spot. They've been able to control the flames, but also 2 police vehicles were upturned by the rioting mob, and it has been a very difficult situation for the police. They had to fire into the air for around 3 rounds at least to disperse the crowds, but that did not go down well, and it later became a full riot. And also there are a lot of workers who had come from different parts of the country to work on this particular project. The construction workers were living in a makeshift accommodation. They have been in fact moved out of the place, and the villagers have even threatened them that not to come back and take on this project. So this has been the situation at the ground level. But now the concern remains that the protest became quite aggressive on the part of the villagers, because the police had come to the place, and it led to kind of an argument between both of them. Now, when the argument was there, the villagers in fact tried to push the police barricade, and this led to an altercation further, and the villagers also went berserk. The policemen had to retreat for their own safety, and that is when the villagers upturned 2 police vehicles that were on the road. The NPCL officials who are actually foreseeing this particular project, is a project run by the National Power Corporation Limited. They also had to flee from the place because of the kind of violence that was perpetrated on them. There were several incidents of stone throwing that was reported, and also there were attempts to in fact demolish the structure by the villagers. Now that is the situation on the ground when the police had to in fact retreat, and they in fact sent an immediate alert to the nearby police battalion, and they rushed the forces immediately. Now that at least the compound has been secured, and they're trying to have peace talks with the villagers. The villagers have been protesting against this particular thermal plant for long, but it's never come to this situation where it became a headlong clash between the police as well as the villagers. Nolan.
Now, do we know how many people and policemen have been injured in this particular ruckus?
Well, there has been reports of lathi charge at the place, and what we know is that from the lathi charge, at least 2 people have been injured in that particular lathi charge, and even on the police front, at least 1 constable is reportedly injured. They've been all shifted to the local Taluk hospital for treatment, and at present, the police are trying to beef their security presence in the area. They're trying to ensure at least the compound that is there is secured, because already there is a superstructure that is in place, and the work is progressing at the site. But today the villagers decided to take a protest against the continuation of this particular project. That is when things went haywire. It was supposed to have been a peaceful project, but then there was an altercation with the police. Nobody knows exactly how it happened. People say that the villagers abused the police, and the police say that they were on the receiving end of it, and the police also say that they couldn't manage the situation because they had a small force at that time over there, and this is what led to the entire fiasco. But at present, there has been security presence that has been beefed up, and we are looking at more companies of policemen to arrive at the place to secure the area, Nolan.
Now, Varghese, we're also getting information that the workers of this thermal plant are being threatened. Do we know what the authorities are doing to keep them safe?
Well, the situation of the workers is like they have been caught between the devil and the deep sea, Nolan. What we know at present is that most of them had come on contract work to build this particular project, and therefore they are hired by different contractors. Now, they've not been given any proper accommodation as of such, and they are living nearby the project site. Their accommodations have been damaged, and they've been also threatened and asked to leave. Now, some of them do not have the money to, in fact, go back to their home states, so that has been a concern. And these people at present do not have a roof over their head also. Now the central government officials and the NPCL officials are trying to ensure that these workers get some kind of accommodation. They're trying to in fact ask whether it's possible to pitch in tents in the area. But at present nothing has been done for the welfare of these workers who've been caught in the crossfire, Nolan.
Now, this happened some few hours ago, Varghese. Have senior police officials or even the minister or the MLA reached this place?
Well, at present, what we know is that the police are trying to control the situation. No senior politicians have arrived at the area. The first thing that the police are trying to do is to ensure that they are able to secure the compound and also to put down the flames and ensure that the morality of the workers are not affected. In fact, it is a central government. It's a central government project that has been undertaken by NPCL. It is very crucial to ensure that there is added power that is given from this particular thermal unit into the national power grid as well as the state grid. So it is a very important project that is being taken into account. But at present, the situation has been quite tense, and though the police are the ones who are in fact trying to bring the situation under control. There's been no word from the MLA or the minister with regards to this, Nolan.
Right, Varghese, thank you very much for all those details. In fact, you can see the situation over there. A few police vehicles have been damaged. Tipper lorries have been set on fire. A major clash is ongoing between the villagers over there who are opposing the setting up of a thermal power plant in their midst and the authorities. In fact, massive protests have broken out in Bijapur. Now, villagers are opposing the construction of the Kudgi thermal power plant. Now, the villagers today square off against cops as protests grew violent. Now, the police also opened fire at the villagers, following which 2 people were injured. You can see the town almost deserted now after the clash that took place between the police and the villagers. The police were, well, they did not have a large number. We're told that the police have now called in for reinforcements in order to bring the situation under control. Now, this is a central government-run or constructed thermal power plant. There are also workers from different parts of the state. Now, the workers over there are caught between the authorities and the villagers. The villagers have now threatened them, stating that they need to get out of the place as fast as possible if they want to be safe. Well, you can see the police over there. Basically, more reinforcements heading to the spot where trouble's on. You can see with riot protection or riot protective gear. This was the lathi charge that took place earlier. You could see the police using their lathis to hit anyone and anybody who they could find. Also in the back, you could also hear that noise with the police firing tear gas shells. And some of the police also throwing back the stones that were thrown at them by the villagers. Now, when the problem began, there were only a few policemen. They had to actually wait for reinforcements to come to take on the villagers. The reinforcements came. That's when the lathi charge started. That's when tear gas shells were fired. And we are also told that many villagers were taken into custody by the police. Well, on the left of your television screen, you can see some of the tipper lorries on fire. Now, the villagers are angry that the authorities were not listening to them and that the police were misbehaving with them, went berserk. We're told that apart from setting on fire 2 or 3 tipper lorries, they also overturned 2 police jeeps. The police could not do anything because they did not have that many personnel present. It was only later when reinforcements were brought in that the police could actually somehow manage to bring the situation under control. That is when they had no other option but to resort to a mild lathi charge. In fact, one can't call that mild because the police, apart from using their lathis on the villagers, also decided to pelt the same stones back on the villagers who threw the stones at them. In fact, if you've just tuned into News9, massive protests have broken out in Bijapur. They are opposing, basically the villagers, the construction of the Kudgi thermal power plant. Villagers squared off against the cops as protests grew violent. Now, the police had no other option but to open fire the villagers, following which 2 people were injured. Now, the villagers in the meanwhile set fire to several vehicles and torched the dry land. Now, we are told that the villagers became aggressive after they